Diving into AVAX, I have left in these key support zones that we spoke about at the back end of last year when we spoke about it, and we were literally picked the top. I think the price was about $140, $137, and we said do not buy AVAX at these prices, wait for the pullback. And we were saying that the two areas of value that we want to be buying into is probably somewhere around that $80 mark, where we've seen support resistance flipped before, and if we get a low before that or after that, then we're looking at about $55-$60, and we absolutely nailed it. So if anyone took note of those trades at the time, amazing, well done. Shows you the value of having patience and marking out those key areas. And if we bring up the VPVR as well, I imagine that these will confirm the zones. Yeah, so you can see here that we've got this low volume block at $82, which is confluent with the price targets that we spoke about, and this a bigger void of lower volume over here at about 55, more obvious low volume than that. And if we were to drop any lower, then I could imagine that $35-$40 might represent a very, very good buying opportunity for AVAX. And when we've spoken about a lot of these coins before, that when they're in their parabolic highs, we say it's not uncommon for them to have major drops of like 50, 60, 70%. And we said that from here a 60% drop would take us to about 57, 58, $60, this green box that we marked out. So good job on that. And I just wanted to also note that AVAX is one of the stronger performers in the market, because if we look at coins like Luna that have been uptrending and moving up and to the right, this is probably a close second, because we've basically been consolidating sideways. Because when we make these massive parabolic moves, coins or stocks or markets can either correct sideways, or they can correct by just moving straight down to lower prices. And whilst we did get a big correction, you can see that the overall pattern of this consolidation is sideways. So this could well be just one reaccumulation pattern over here, and maybe we just stay range bound here, and this could be a swing move up to our higher targets of like 270, $350 that we've got for AVAX. So yeah, I think for me, when I added into this at about the $60 mark, so I always try to wait for those lower targets. If I get those lower targets hit, then I'm happy to buy in and just let it ride and just hold it. And if we move lower, I can stack in at even cheaper prices. Then I think I wouldn't be adding any at the moment into my stash of AVAX. I would just wait for this to see what this does. But yeah, that's basically marking out the key levels. And if we look above us, like I said, we are going to be experiencing, I would imagine, some level of resistance here at $95. And then above that, we've got these bands over here at about $125, where we've had some weekly and daily closes. But don't be surprised that if we still make a push up here, because Bitcoin is getting close to that 46 mark, which is a really important decisive moment for the market in general. Because if BTC rejects at 46, then expect a correction in the altcoins at their key levels. But if Bitcoin is able to push through, expect this to be confluent, especially with some of the big leaders in the space that have been strong performers in the market. So I'd imagine keep an eye on this for confluence of Bitcoin, in that if BTC is able to break $46,000, then we might be able to break this 95 level over here, hold this as support, back test, and move higher. That's basically what you want to see for a strong healthy uptrend. But like I said, we do want to be aware of both the levels, both to the upside and to the downside. So key support at the moment is resting at 54. Anything below 54, we're looking at about 40 to $32 as an order block that we haven't actually tested since our all-time high. So that's something to bear in mind. We speak about order blocks because this area, whilst it was tested over here very briefly, we never really got into this down candle Not really. So that's why this area is, you know, an area to be watching out for on AVAX. Having a look at the key Fibonacci moving averages on the weekly time frame and the daily time frame, just to show you these two, right? They're not actually showing us that much because they're typically just oscillating and not showing us key areas of value that we want to be adding into, okay? But what we can say on the weekly, especially looking at that big macro picture, is that we are at least not in some sort of clear downtrend according to the fibs as well. So that's in confluence with, you know, that consolidation, sideways consolidation pattern that we were just talking about, because we're not necessarily getting, you know, systematic rejections off these key EMAs. And if we just have a look at the weekly 21, we're actually holding it, and we've been holding it on the weekly for quite a while now. So over here where we held it at about $65, looking pretty good, and over here in the recent few weeks in February and March, we're holding it again at about $69, $70. So I think that there is more to show you that, you know, that there's maybe room for some upside here on AVAX, and that, you know, I don't think that the market is looking unhealthy in any way, and certainly stronger than a lot of other coins that if you look at, like, you know, I think Cardano is the best example. Whoops. As you know, what a real systematic downtrend looks like. Look at that, put the fibs on that, and you'll see how you get these constant, you know, churns lower. So yeah, that's what I'm looking out for. So yeah, I think AVAX looking definitely one of the best or better altcoins in the space at the current moment. Looks healthy, can definitely move higher from here. I mean, if you just look at the chart in general, it is something that is moving up and to the right, and charts that move up and right, okay, over the long term, and that's a real clear and easy trend to see. You just want to be adding into areas of value. So that's basically, you know, the reason that we're quite bullish on AVAX and that the chart looks pretty good. Taking a look at the weekly RSI, we're currently at that half midway point at about 45.50, where we've seen support in the past. You can see that in June, as of last year, nearly a year ago, we got this basing of you know, that 46, 45, 50 level over here, which is exactly where we've based out again. So, you know, this could be another platform to move higher, and if we can break higher into this 63.70 range, I think that, you know, AVAX can really, you know, maybe make another run higher. But if we lose the 50 area, expect this to be you know, confluent with some sort of break or, you know, downtrend to continue, because this has been a sideways consolidation. But if we do look on the macro, we are still creating some lower highs. You can see that, okay, when you zoom out. So we are still moving down, but, you know, the correction is a lot more of a sideways correction, and is nowhere near as severe as some of the other coins. So if we do break lower from here, okay, and we start to churn down, then expect us to possibly take out that 50 area. Maybe in like a month or two or three or sometime this year, so just be aware of that. But, you know, the thing that you're really looking for here, in my opinion, for AVAX to move higher is, we spoke about that 95 area as an area of key support resistance, but that's also the last swing weekly high that we got back in the middle of February. So if we are able to take out 95 and move really into that 100 zone over here, where that I've marked out in yellow, again, you're creating market structure where you're moving up, and then we're looking for the pullback to basically join the trend, join the overall larger market trend to potentially move higher from here, and, you know, create that bullish structure. But yeah, so long as we're below 98, 95, $100, I think that you can stay reasonably neutral on AVAX. But as soon as we break this might be telling us that the market structure is shifting from momentum to the upside again. If you're getting value from this video and you're making money on some of these calls because you managed to stick around and hit the subscribe button because you're keeping up to date with all my videos, go ahead and show me some love. Drop me a like down below to help me out with the channel. Let's crack on. Same thing for AVAX Bitcoin. This is a chart that is moving up and to the right. So it's definitely you know, a coin that is able to outperform Bitcoin over the longer term. And although this hasn't been out for a great deal of time, you can see that You know, you want to stick to the main movers, okay? Don't try and pick bottoms on coins that have been downtrending for so long, because some of them just never come back, okay? You want to stick with the trend, stick with what you can see, and I've left these green bars in for AVAX since the last video as those key areas, and you can see absolutely to the T, right, that, you know, we smashed this this level over here really well, where we called that 16,000 Satoshi level for AVAX as a key level of you know, horizontal support, and that's exactly what we got. That since we had that high back in December 21, correction down, look for that key horizontal support resistance, add into areas of value, and since then, you know, into that January low, that not only has Bitcoin moved lower, okay, and created its low, but it's also managed to outperform Bitcoin, you know, since that time in about 28-30%. So looking pretty good for AVAX. And so long as we can hold this level, this might just be, again, reaccumulation for prices to, whoops, let me just get rid of that, reaccumulation for prices to, you know, move to that next leg higher, okay? But, you know, if we do break down from this, like I said, the next level that I think you want to be looking out for, our targets pretty much always get hit, right? Like really solid on picking out those key levels. This is going to be an obvious level to mark out. Look at this level over here at about 12,000 Satoshis, where we've had our previous breakout points and resistances in the past. So if we are to break down from here and we move into lower prices and Bitcoin is not able to maybe putting a new high at 46 and it starts to move lower, then look for this area to be an area of value to be adding into if we move lower. And like I've said before on many other coins, look for these levels to be confluent with USD prices. So let's say, for example, we get to $40 or $38, and we said that that was the next level below 55. So, you know, what you want to look out for, that might be in confluence with this level, okay? It doesn't have to be that we go to this level just to see lower prices, because it could still say as a relative strength contender versus Bitcoin. But if we move down here, look for this to be in confluence with key support zone, and look for this at 12,000 Satoshis to be a key level of support on the USD chart as well. So yeah, that's basically what I'm looking out for here. But we don't need to talk about any lower prices whilst we're still loitering at pretty healthy levels and really at near all-time highs at about 20,000 Satoshis. Upward targets still remain for AVAX, and I think the key levels that we're looking out for if we take our fib extensions is I'm seeing some confluence over here, okay, at about 35,000 Satoshis at the 2.618 from this major wave, as you know, the real next level to look out for. And if we take a look at you know, some of the extensions of these other main waves, you can see the 1.618 is coming in at about 33,000. So I would be keeping an eye for any potential breakout of this horizontal level at about 25,000 sats, that if we can move higher over here, then it could well be that we move to these targets, and these, you know, Satoshi Bitcoin targets are going to be in confluence with some of those USD targets that we talked about earlier in the year on AVAX. So those are the levels that, you know, I want you to keep aware of should we move higher, and that would also represent from current levels an extra 70-80%. Nothing that altcoins can't do, you know, that's pretty typical in the altcoin space. So let's keep an eye out for these targets as well. AVAX Ethereum is also showing us a pretty nice range that we're in, and if I just bring up these key levels that we're here at the moment, is it's pretty defined, right? We've got these peaks over here at about and we've actually already hit this, you know, earlier in the week for AVAX at about 0.031 ETH, where we've been rejected for in the past. So, you know, not a bad time towards up these areas to be maybe converting some of this into ETH. You know, like I said, just making those slight rotations when you get those areas of value and the opportunity to do so. But, you know, key levels below us is going to be 0.25 ETH. We've got a block of support over here at 0.22. And if we come down to the range low of the price of AVAX, and we're looking at 0.02. So this might be a good area of value should we get there. Like I said, I'm just marking out those key levels, but you know, potentially look for areas of confluence that we've got this key level of support, or should I say resistance above us, okay, at 0.032. And if we were to break through this, you know, again, we want to look at the Bitcoin and the USD chart, and that will probably mean that we're breaking key resistance above us on the USD chart, breaking that key resistance on the Bitcoin chart as well. And if you see the same thing on ETH as well, that is telling you that you're getting relative strength on 3 different indexes, okay, versus AVAX to tell you that it's moving higher. So that's what's going to give you that confirmation and that confluence that, you know, AVAX is going to have a strong breakout to the upside. Just wrapping it up, you know, keep an eye out on Bitcoin. Like I said, we are at that key level of about $46,000, which to me is really the line in the sand of whether we get that violent move to the upside or we basically get that rejection and move lower. So the market is always going to be somewhat at the mercy of Bitcoin. So that's really what is going to be, for me, the main driving factor for if we're able to get some sort of mini altcoin season, or at least some sort of relief or move to the upside in the market. If you like the video, drop me a like down below, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Like I said, I've been trying to come out with daily videos for all the major cryptos to keep you up to date. Until the next video, I'll catch you in the next one.